My name is Dr. Irene Yolette. I'm 32, Chief of Trauma Surgery at Mercycrest Medical Center. 5 years ago, my older sister Monica lied to our parents that I dropped out of medical school. That one lie erased me from my family. They blocked my number, skipped my residency graduation, didn't show up to my wedding. For half a decade, I was no one's daughter. Then last month, Monica was rushed into my ER bleeding out. When I walked out of surgery, my mother saw my badge and grabbed my father's arm so hard she left bruises. Let me take you back to Hartford, Connecticut, 2019. Growing up, there were 2 daughters in the Yolette house, but only one who mattered. Monica, 3 years older, was the golden child, school plays, student council, the kind of charm that won over every adult at every dinner party. Our parents, Jerry and Diane, valued 2 things above all else: appearances and obedience. Monica delivered both flawlessly. I was the quiet one, nose in a biology textbook while she held court at Thanksgiving dinner. Invisible. When I made the state science fair in 8th grade, same weekend as Monica's community theater show, guess where they went? When I brought home 2nd place, Dad glanced at the ribbon and said, "That's nice, Irene." Never asked what my project was about. I poured everything into my grades. The day I got into Oregon Health and Science University's med program, 3,000 miles from home, something shifted. For the first time, Dad looked at me and said, "Maybe you'll make something of yourself after all." Mom called every relative she knew, pride in her voice for the first time. But Monica? She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. That week, she called constantly, asked about my roommate, my schedule, my professors. I thought she finally saw me. I handed her every vulnerability with a grateful smile. I was feeding her ammunition. 3rd year, my best friend Sarah Mitchell was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. No family, no support system. I filed a legitimate semester leave of absence to care for her. I told Monica, trusting her for the first time in years. She cooed, "I won't say a word to Mom and Dad." 3 days later, she called them. The call came at 11 p.m. while I sat by Sarah's hospital bed. Dad's voice was ice. "Your sister told us everything. The dropping out, the druggy boyfriend. Don't call this house until you tell the truth." Mom sobbed. "How could you lie for a year?" I tried to explain the leave, offered the dean's number. They hung up. For minutes and 12 seconds. That's how long it took to erase me. I called 14 times in 5 days. Sent 2 emails with my leave paperwork, a handwritten letter. All returned unopened. Aunt Ruth, the only one who ever treated me like I mattered, called Dad. He hung up on her. Sarah died that December, alone with me in the room. No one from my family called. At her tiny funeral, 6 people showed up. In her copy of Grey's Anatomy, I found a sticky note she'd written weeks before. "Finish what you started, Irene. Become the doctor I know you are. Don't let anyone, especially your own blood, tell you who you are." I chose to climb. I finished med school on extra loans, worked part-time, ate hospital leftovers more times than I'll admit. I matched into surgical residency at Mercycrest, met my husband Nathan, a civil rights attorney who didn't flinch when I told him the truth. We got married in my mentor Dr. Maggie Thornton's backyard. 30 guests. Nathan's dad walked me down the aisle. The invitation I sent to Hartford came back unopened. 5 years later, I'm chief of trauma surgery. I have a good life, a husband who makes me laugh, a golden retriever named Hippo. But every Thanksgiving, I still count an extra plate for the parents I'd lost. Then last month, my pager went off at 3:07 a.m. Level 1 trauma. 35-year-old female, blunt abdominal trauma, ETA 8 minutes. I scanned the intake iPad. Patient, Monica Yolette. Emergency contact, Gerald Yolette. I froze for 3 seconds. Then I moved. Prep Bay 2. Page Dr. Patel. Monica was unconscious when they wheeled her in, blood soaking her shirt. Behind the stretcher, my parents ran in bathrobes, Dad's slippers on the wrong feet. They screamed for the doctor in charge. My charge nurse Carla glanced at my badge, started to speak, but I shook my head. Not now. I scrubbed in, stared at my reflection, the daughter they'd erased, about to save the woman who'd destroyed my life. Part of me wanted to walk away. But Monica was bleeding out. She'd be dead in 30 minutes if the best surgeon in the building didn't operate. And I was the best. 3 hours and 40 minutes. Ruptured spleen removed. Grade 3 liver laceration repaired. Bleeding controlled. When I stepped out, my parents were in the waiting room. Dad stood first. "Doctor, how is she?" Then his eyes dropped to my badge. Dr. Irene Ulett, MD, FACS, Chief of Trauma Surgery. Mom's hand clamped down on his arm hard enough to bruise. 5 seconds of silence. I spoke first, clinical, detached. "Mr. and Mrs. Ulett, I'm Dr. Ulett. Your daughter's surgery was successful. She's stable in the ICU." I didn't call them Mom and Dad. Mom reached for me, sobbing. I stepped back half a step. Dad's voice was gravel. "You're a doctor?" "Monica said she told you I dropped out. That I was homeless. That I abandoned you." None of it was true. I kept my voice steady. "I called 14 times in 5 days. Sent letters you returned unopened. Aunt Ruth tried to tell you. You told her to stay out of it." Mom sank into a chair, scrolling through the evidence Ruth had sent her months ago. My leave paperwork, my residency graduation photo, the email I'd sent the night before I graduated. "I'm still your daughter. I never stopped being your daughter." Dad stood by the window, crying for the first time in 62 years. For hours later, I checked on Monica. Her eyes were glassy from anesthesia. She read my badge, color draining from her face. "Irene, you're a doctor." I nodded. "You're going to make a full recovery. You don't need to explain to me. You need to explain to them." When my parents walked in, Monica tried to play the victim again. I never meant for it to go this far. But Aunt Ruth arrived with her phone, pulled up a text Monica had sent her 4 years prior. "Don't tell Mom and Dad about Irene's residency. It'll just confuse them." The room went silent. Monica had no script left. For the first time in her life, she had no lie to hide behind. I met my parents separately the next week. "I'm open to rebuilding," I told them. "But you go to family counseling. You need to understand why you believed a lie without ever checking. And you start by showing up, not with grand gestures, but with consistency." Monica sent a family-wide email 2 weeks later, admitting every lie. No excuses. Just facts. Most relatives didn't respond. Trust, once broken, doesn't glue back easily. My parents started therapy. Mom wrote me a letter. "I failed you. Every time I chose peace over fairness, every time I let your father's temper decide what was true. I'm sorry." I put it in my desk drawer, next to Sarah's note and the returned letters. Progress, not perfection. Last Sunday, light snow falling, the doorbell rang. Mom and Dad stood on the porch. Dad held a bottle of orange juice like he didn't know what to do with his hands. Mom had a tin of her shortbread cookies, the ones she used to make for Monica's events, never mine. "Hi," Mom said, nervous. "Come in," I said. "Coffee's almost ready." Dad asked if he could help. I told him to set the table. He counted the plates. 4. He set them down carefully, one by one. Mom hugged me at the stove, quiet, no words. It's not perfect. It's not the reconciliation movie, Sal. But it's real. And real is more than I had for a very long time. My name is Dr. Irene Ulett. I'm 32, and I'm finally, slowly, letting myself be someone's daughter again. 4 plates. It's a start.